One, two, 1, 2, need my attitude. 3, 4, 3, 4, check my latitude. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that.
Hello, hello, hello. It is Wednesday again.
It is Wednesday again.
And it's July 1. We are officially like in the second half of the year. We are, if I remember correctly, and somebody can correct me, but I think we're 170 some days till Christmas. 180 some days to the new year, if anybody is counting down to any of that. And if you're not, I envy you because anyways. So how are you doing today?
I am super good. It's a different morning. Normally I come in after work, but I did not have to work last night, so it's a good morning.
Oh my goodness. Did you actually sleep?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep.
I know that sometimes with overnights and things like that, it's hard to like get back into a sleep at night mode. So
yeah, it's been strange because I've been working both overnight and days, so I just sleep when I sleep. But like I showed up to go to work last night, found out that somebody else was scheduled during my schedule, checked the schedule to make sure neither of us were crazy, and then figured out that I will have to be at work at 4 a.m. for the next 2 days, and was not aware of one of those days. So
no. I would not be happy to be up at 4 a.m. for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But that leads me into like the first kind of weird topic we were going to talk about is there's a difference in showing up the way you are and being who you are. And I'll give an example. My shirt, I did not realize how wrinkly this shoulder was, right? And now that I pointed it out to whoever's watching, you're going to now notice that the rest of the show. But I'm not going to go up and change, right? It looks perfectly fine for going on a live or something. You get my point. I don't look tragic. You get my point.
And in today's fashion, it could just be the fluffies.
It could be. You never know, right? But the other thing is I posted about this week, and a couple of people commented on it. I did an interview. This would have been, I don't know, 8 years ago now, give or take. And it was a Zoom interview. And the person joined the call laying on a couch with a sports bra on with the phone like this. Okay. And the thing is her resume was the bomb, like fit everything. Like I would have loved for her to interview well. And so I even gave her a chance. I'm like, hey, do you want to go put a shirt on? Right? And she said, no, it's too hot for that. The problem is that I needed her to be doing a job that would be dealing with customers, sometimes on Zoom, sometimes over the phone. But I needed to make sure she was at least going to have a t-shirt on for a Zoom call going forward. And if you can't put your best foot forward in an interview, how do I know you're going to do that in the job, right? And so showing up as yourself is important, right? But what I'm getting at here is you can show up at 4 a.m. a little bit different than you can at a shift that you're going to be dealing with massive customers, right? So if you show up at 4 a.m. and you're in grubby clothes to unpack a truck and you didn't put makeup on, nobody is going to second guess you. They're going to be like, I'm just glad you're here and I don't have to do that, right? Like, but if you're coming to be on a call, you want to look somewhat presentable, and I consider this somewhat presentable. What are your thoughts? I think I just rambled a little bit, but
no, I think that that's really key, right? So many people force uniforms, so many people force different things to create that. You know, if you go into Target, everybody's wearing red. If you go into Walmart, everybody's wearing blue. and they've all got those khaki pants, right? We've all been
Yes.
waitresses with our button-down white t-shirt, white long sleeve shirts, or our shoes that are non-slip. Like, and yes, the non-slip shoes super important. Not saying they're not. However, you always notice that the waitress that goes above and beyond is the one that has things on their shoestrings, right?
Right.
There's always a way to present yourself and to hold on to who you are. And this is something that we're facing at my place of work right now. Everybody's burned out. And
Sure.
so sometimes in a corporate environment, there's so much of a consistent demand, but then there's so many different people chiming in on that demand that you start to get exhausted and you no longer want to show up. You start out really, really strong and then it kind of pitters out a little bit. Um, and one of the things that you have to look at is like, how do I show up when I go to work? Am I showing up
Yes.
as the person who's exhausted of being there, or am I the person that's showing up for the customers or for this or for that? And it is different. And sometimes a wrinkly shirt is a wrinkly shirt because you had chaos happen, right? Sometimes
Right.
you just show up, but when you're showing up, it's that personality. And like you said, if I got on call with somebody and I was doing an interview and they were in their sports bra, one, how much did you want this job? If that's really how you're presenting yourself. We all know, even, and this was back in the day, right? When you had to put on your nice pants, you had to put on your nice shirt, you had to go in, pick up the application, right? Your first impression was picking up that application. Now your first impression is that interview. But back in the day, you dressed up to get your application. Like you
Yeah.
dressed up to go, and you might hit 10 different places to pick up paper applications in one day, but you went and you did that. And now we're all online, even LinkedIn or Indeed has like where you do skill tests, and those
Yes.
are your first impressions, right? So you want to, and your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your all of those things are first impressions. So what are you presenting as who you are is very important nowadays.
I agree, and I think that I'm going to do a little segue so we can get into branding, and it'll get into a little more personal branding. But one of the things that I have come to realize that, um, as a whole, certain generations do differently than others, is you have to be careful of what you put out on social media, right?
Mhm.
And so, like, I know quite a few people on, say, LinkedIn, as the prime example for this would be they're going to complain about this job and the hiring practices and, all of these da 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 da's, and are wondering why they can't find a job. Hiring managers look at your social media now. And so many people, like there was just this lady, she was from Texas, and there was a family that she just literally walked up to and they started reporting because she was yelling at them about going home. Like, get out of this country, you don't belong here. Well, and the company she worked for was like, you can't do that. Whether you believe that or I believe that or whatever, you can't just go up to random people wearing our logoed shirts, yelling at them to go home, right? You can't do it. And so she was fired, right? And that's happened a lot, right? Your personal branding can impact your business branding or even your work life branding. And I'm not sure that's the right wording, the work life branding, but you get my point.
No, and I think it is, right? Because like you said, so when I get off at my 9 to 5 job, I take my shirt off and I walk home.
Sure.
Like I have a tank top on under it, and I'm in Louisiana. Don't walk in anything more than a tank top.
You
But
might die.
yeah, you're gonna die. But I'll take off my work shirt and I walk home. So I'm not branding the company as I'm walking home. Nobody can
Right.
track me as I'm walking home. But you shouldn't, and Coke and Pepsi, different companies like that, if you have a work truck or any of those things, you can't go to a liquor store, right? You can't, there's very specific things that you are not able to do because of what that looks like. Or, you know, if you did go to the liquor store and then you decide to open in your work vehicle, right? So there's a lot of different things that they're protecting against, but also keeping that idea of, I didn't just watch a Pepsi representative walk out of a liquor store arms full
So
of vodka.
before before we go further to this, and I think I might have told you this story, but who's ever collectively listening probably has not. I'm not going to say the organization, but a nonprofit I worked with had work trucks, work vehicles, and these vehicles had certain procedures that when they were parked, they had these what were called chocks, right? And people have probably seen them. There's those triangle things that go behind the tires just in case it doesn't roll away or something. And I have never figured out how trucks just roll away, but apparently this was part of the process. So this truck happened to be parked somewhere with the chocks, like they took care of it, like everything was great. But we started getting pictures of this truck and where it was, because it was sitting, a nonprofit work truck sitting outside the strip club, perfectly handled, chalked, following procedure, parked in front of a strip club with the logo. And it was the funniest and worst thing that had happened to me, because the conversation you have to have with those people is very not fun. So anyways, I had to tell that story because it just reminded me of.
But it fits into that of,
Yeah.
how do you represent, when you get hired onto a job, if I'm taking a job on my couch in my sports bra that accommodates that lifestyle, then that's what I'm going to represent. And there's nothing, right, wrong, or indifferent about it. That's the lifestyle you want to have. So find
Sure.
the places that support that lifestyle, right? We all know the stories of people who didn't wear pants on Zoom during COVID, right?
And accidentally stood up. Now, I have to admit, there were a lot of times I was in a halfway nice shirt with like sleep pants, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I definitely, but I never had no pants.
Everybody here has seen my Snoopy pants. Like when we go on and we're talking, I do keep my top very professional, but my pants are my Snoopy pants, right? And that's why we work at home. We can wear our
Right.
Snoopy pants. We don't have to have buttons. We don't have to, we can have that space. And that's really kind of how you avoid burnout, right? Is find where you belong, find your peace, find your
Sure.
space. But also, when it comes to branding, know and be aware of your surroundings. Do I have a work shirt on? If I own the business, am I walking around branded, right? Because you do want to present your business, but also if you're not associated with the strip club and you're not associated with that type of lifestyle, then your business shouldn't be branding towards that type of lifestyle, right?
Right.
And you want to make sure that you're representing when you can. It is not that hard to swap out shirts. It's not that hard to really be cognitive of where you're showing up. But there's times that accidents happen, and I don't think chalking your tires is an accident, right?
That's
But
my point, right? Like that was
yeah,
not an accident.
so always being very cognitive, but always, like you said, consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is who we are, and this is who we are consistently. So when an employee does something that goes against that consistent standard, well, did you share that standard with people? Were they aware of what the standard and what the brand means even before they were hired? Hey, in an interview, when you can say, there's a few companies out there that are, and I'm not going to say names, because everybody will know them when I say them. There's a few companies out there that when hired, if you are a part of the LGBTQ plus community, you are treated different, and not different
Sure.
in a good way. You are treated different in a very poor way. The interview process doesn't say that, right?
No.
Because legalities. But the way that the stores are managed, the way that the people are allowed to treat people, um, we've all heard those stories, and it's very disheartening, right? It's a
Sure.
very disheartening conversation. And there's people who will not eat at those places, and there's people who will eat at those places but will talk bad about those places, right? And it's it's one of those things where however you want to brand, however you want to run your internal systems, consistency in the public side and consistency in the background should also be consistency in how you hire. That
Oh,
should
and
be a conversation before you hire.
that is true. It is better to be upfront and honest. Sometimes, though, I shouldn't say sometimes. 99% of the time, if somebody is an ist, right, racist or something along that, they're not going to admit that in an interview, being upfront and honest, right?
Yeah.
I know one of the places you're talking about, and I have eaten there once. And I was not impressed. So if anybody knows who I'm talking about, you know what I mean. And I'm just like, I'm not impressed with your company policies, and I'm also not impressed with your food. So it's okay. I don't need to eat there. And so, but back to that branding concept, right? And I know that she hearted our live, but one of the concepts that was in my head, and I don't know the details because she's keeping under wraps, but a person watching us, and I will say her name is fine, Terry, because she posted it on social media. She did a photo shoot. I don't know if it was yesterday or this weekend or something. She did a photo shoot, and I love that concept, right? The idea of moving ahead in a new, different, interesting way with your company, with how you're branding yourself. Sometimes the pictures we take ourselves or the family photos that people take of us aren't what we want for our business, right? And so sometimes you have to say, I'm going to get either a professional headshot, or I'm a chef, I'm going to have somebody take a picture of me with cool food, right? Like, I don't freaking know what you want to do. For me, a formal photo shoot probably would not necessarily work. I don't necessarily need that, but certain lifestyles and certain businesses, it works better for that branding, right? And you use the word consistency. Consistency does not mean you stay stagnant. If you decided something 3 years ago that you can't change it now, or 3 months ago that you can't change it. What consistency means is that if you're going to say, this is my policy of hiring for one person, that is going to be the same process of hiring and policies I use for all hires. Yep. If you're saying, I'm changing my blue from royal blue to navy blue, you make sure that you change it everywhere. I thought I just hit something over. You change it everywhere, right? So consistency, a lot of people hate that word because they're like, well, I can't do the same thing every day. Okay, that's a different type of consistency, people, right? I get it. I would go loony if I did the same thing every day. But consistency, you have to have it in your branding.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things to think about as far as like what is consistent, right? I did a photo shoot and I loved it. Even as a business owner who works online, and I want to do one here in Shreveport because mine's in Grand Junction and it's, from a few years ago. But it was fun because then I could put a face to my marketing, right? I could put playful photos out there and show people that I don't just live in my office. I live outside. I go, downtown, and I do things out in the world. I take my laptop with me. Yeah, I'll work outside. That's the whole point of, being where I'm at. And that was what that photo shoot was just a fun photo shoot, being out But you can use that and you can say, okay, I did a photo shoot then. I've used those photos for, a year now. Let's do some new photos. Let's do another like year's worth of branding, right? And we've all seen the McDonald's arches change. We have all seen Wendy's has changed. We've seen the buildings themselves go from having play areas and sunrooms to whatever it is now.
I don't know. I don't.
Whatever.
All I'm saying is I'm glad I don't have to deal with small children anymore, because I would be like, no, we're not going there.
Yeah, I'd be like, I can't have French fries and watch you play on the Playhouse. Can't go.
Right, can't go. So,
but I mean, it is definitely, you get to see brands go different, and whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, when you can hold on to that consistency, when you can make sure this is a standard that I've held, this is what I'm holding, and that's what my branding is showing, right? You want to stay true to who you are. We all grow, we all change, we all learn different things, and we take pieces from other business owners and we share and we experience things which will allow us to be better. Personally, business wise, all of those things, it's really important for us to create that space. So I'm excited to see what Terry comes out with, because one, is a stunning woman, and
agreed.
just to see how she gets to portray herself and be playful in photo shoots. Lydia and Linda did one a few years ago, and I was excited to see theirs when they did theirs. But it's been interesting when you get to see people do photo shoots and just have fun. I think when you can have a photographer, it brings out more playfulness than we're willing. Our little selfies are like, my one little, we all have the one space. The phone goes in this corner and we go, right?
Well, it's the great lighting and the health. Yeah. Right. Yes. 100%. No, and I agree with that. And I think that a lot of times we create something, and I'm going to use myself as the example. So it was about a year ago that the first coloring book I did ever happened. It was sometime in July. And now I have 5 of them, which is great. And I designed these covers and they were so cute. I loved them. And then I realized that the things I created, though, weren't the best for marketing on social media, right? They weren't the characters, for lack of better terms, that I wanted. And so over the course of, I would say the last 3 or 4 months, I've really been formalizing those characters, and I found exactly what I want. They're perfect now, for lack of better terms, and perfection is not, they're perfectly cute. If you looked at them, you might not think they're perfectly cute, but I do. And so I have now realized that the covers of my books, I want to reflect those characters that I'm using all across social media. So I'm actually working to change those covers, which is wonderful. But again, consistency. If you change one thing, it's not about, I could never change the coloring books, right? And Stephen King, over the course of time, has changed the covers of his books with new releases and different things of books he's written way in the past. Just using him as an example. Consistency is about being consistent across all venues when you make a change, when a creative turn takes you somewhere. And I know you did this when you started talking about helping people with tornadoes, right? You changed some of your branding to reflect that tornado concept.
Yeah, and I've got a little bit more of the storm in there because one of my friends posted amazing storm photos, and so I've been, he gave me the rights to those photos. And what I want to touch base with that coloring book, right? We talk about all the time, if you have an idea, run with it. It doesn't have to be perfect when you start, just run with it, right? It was a way to create a residual income that also filtered in your creative side because you were feeling stagnant creatively, you were needing
creatively.
that creative outlook. And you were wanting to bring that creativity into HR, and you were wanting to really collide these things together. And so you created something, and it was creative and it was fun, and it was put out into the world as a creative fun project. And as
Yeah.
you held on to that creative fun project and you promoted it and you marketed, you found how you want to market. You found your voice. When we create something, we're not always going to have a voice around that creation. Not until we actually step into it and we have time to spend with it, and we realize how does it really ebb and flow with what we're doing. So it does take time, and that's why there's things that sit on shelves until people have the right time to release them, right? That's why things sit in places that we don't even know about, because we're not ready for it, or they're not ready, they don't know how to present it. And so if you present something, let it be there. I mean, look at the little sponge guy, the little sponge face, right? That guy went on to Shark Tank and
Oh,
didn't get
Scrub Daddy. I
anything.
was like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Scrub
Yes.
Daddy. He was holding a whole freaking creation, went on to Shark Tank, and like you said, those people don't do dishes every day. They were like, oh, we're good. And everybody else on the planet was ordering Scrub Daddies. You just want to start, and then you can find, what does this look like? What is my branding? Where do I fit?
Well, yeah. And I think that fear of, no. So the fear of not being perfect or not having a finished product holds people back. The one thing that I will say the startup culture of Silicon Valley has given the world, and I'm joking because like some of the stuff they've given the world we don't need, but they have given the world the concept of iteration. And by that I mean saying, I'm going to release this now knowing it's beta, knowing it's first round. I'm going to have updates every month going forward to make it bigger, better, and stronger, but I need to release something today. And I think if more people thought about that with their small businesses or even just their life, right? I'm going to take a chance today on this small thing. And then I'm going to make it better the next day, make it better the next day, right? Or even better in 5 years, right? Like it's the concept of starting out with an apartment. How many people I started out living alone by myself in dorm rooms. You get my point? Then you get the apartment, and then you get a rental house, and then you buy a house, and there's iterations to life. But we don't look at it that way when it's a business. We're like, well, if it's not perfect, we can't put it out into the world. Okay, do you know how many people I invited to my crappy apartment? Right? Like if I did, like, you know what I mean? Like you have to be like, here's my crappy apartment. Come visit me and help me make it better, right? Do a housewarming. And I'm joking about all this, but it has to be about that, looking at your branding as stages, looking at building your business as stages. And if you continue to iterate and build it in stages, it's going to be something amazing. But if you build it all in the back end, it may never get there.
Yeah,
it may never get there.
And that's the whole purpose of it, is to put yourself out there and see how it works. If you don't see it, I mean, I've changed my branding a few times. We've changed the colors a few times. I've done a few different things. My logo has stayed the exact same because I am an 80s rock star. That's my band. Like that is my logo is my band, right? But trying to figure out how to speak to people, and even just not even knowing how I want to share and represent myself. And we know that I have the biggest, like, I don't know how to sell myself. More of I'm afraid to, right? I can help everybody else sell themselves and I can sell everybody else, but I'm stuck in that afraid to for myself space. So I've changed things. I have done really well on keeping like my message consistent and my spacing consistent, but also just have lollygagged in that space of being here consistently, right?
So we are getting towards the end of our normal 30 minutes, but and this has nothing to do with our topic, but you just said rock and roll. And I know it's not necessarily completely rock and roll, but we're going to talk about a concert I went to this weekend. So we went to a Pink Floyd cover band. Okay. So now we can debate if Pink Floyd is rock or if it's something else that was just 70s-ish. Okay. But we can all agree a little bit iconic. Can we?
Definitely.
Okay. So we go to this concert and we take Allie, who if anybody doesn't know, Allie is the 24-year-old that lives with us, and she is extremely autistic, and music is her love language. Any music, right? So like you can sing the ABCs with her all the way to taking her to a Pink Floyd concert and she is happy. All right. Then we also took the 18-year-old who I wanted to strangle at some point in time because he was more interested in his phone. But that is not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what I saw there. Okay. At this concert, and I made a post about it if somebody wants to go look at my Substack. But at this concert, I saw every color of the skin spectrum. I saw with dogs. I want to clarify. I saw gay couples with dogs. I saw lesbian couples with dogs. I saw single people with dogs. I saw lots of dogs. It was an outdoor concert. I loved it, right? I saw people with MAGA hats and dogs. I saw like the whole realm of the United States culture was at this stupid Pink Floyd concert. But you want to know what I didn't see? Anybody saying crap to people, anybody getting into a fight. Everybody was eating the street food there. There was street corn and churro ice cream, which, by the way, if you've never had churro ice cream, I recommend it. It's vanilla ice cream. They shove churros into it and you eat the ice cream. I don't know who invented this. I don't care. Try it at the next fair. It must be the in thing. But my point is that I know this has nothing to do with what we talked about. But I do believe possibly that, you know, more people than just Allie have music as a love language. But I also think that we need to start thinking about the ways that bring us all together instead of tearing us apart. And I think branding, it can do that to a certain extent. And I'm bringing this back to a little bit to our topic, is that you're tearing yourself apart by focusing too much on presenting the right version of you instead of just presenting you to the world, right? So if we just all were ourselves and we all could get along like we are at a Pink Floyd concert, imagine how great the world would be. And that's because everybody was just themselves. Yeah. They weren't worried about anybody else.
Hi, Sophia. We appreciate you. Sophia. No, and I agree. And Sophia has great branding. She's always great with what she's up to. Terry's phenomenal. We've got Forrest, who just changed his colors to go more into what he was working. I say just, and that was months ago. Wow, it's been a minute. So I think that it's really good when you can look at bringing yourself into what you're doing, making sure that you're present, and really just being straightforward. And like you said, sometimes you show up with wrinklies, sometimes you show up with an unfinished background, because if everybody remembers what my backgrounds used to be, right now it's minimalist, right? And I love your nope, by the way. I just love that you have a nope file. Like, nope, not doing that today.
That's just on the side of my computer. It's so my computer stands up over here. So where? Oh yeah. So I know we're running a little late, but give me a second. So my partner went last week. He normally goes glamping with friends twice a year, but they couldn't agree on when to go glamping. So they decided to spend a week in Bardstown, which, if you don't know what that is, it's by Louisville, and it's just a bunch of bourbon tours, which is apparently what glamping people do when they're not glamping. Just throwing it out there. Okay, so we have a lot of extra bourbon, but we also have a nope sticker that came from one of them. They were just free, but also I need to name him.
Oh, look how cute he is.
He is so cute, right? He's a new stuffy from Buffalo Trace. So he's the little buffalo, but look at him with his little beard.
I love his beard.
So we need to name him. Maybe that's what we talk about next Wednesday a little bit, maybe we name him between now and then. But we talk a little bit about, like they should have named him, right? Branding, he should have been like Ben the Buffalo.
His
Do
little
you get my
TY
point?
sticker with his little.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's TY, but
Well, no, but you know, but
oh,
when
sure, I
said
get your
that,
point.
You
Right,
saw
right.
it, right? Talking
Yeah.
about branding.
All right.
But
So
yeah, he could have been Buffalo Bill, right?
he could have been, exactly. All right, Brittany, who are you?
I'm Brittany. I'm with BizStorming. I am an accountability business coach that helps people really find where they're going and how they're getting there through technology and strategy.
I love it. And I am Sarah with Off the Beaten Path Consulting. I build HR and leadership programs for small and medium-sized companies, and I'd love to talk to you about solving your problems. So that sounded really like I'm selling a used car, that last tone there. I really caught that tone. It was just the tone. I just kind of went down in my voice, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm selling used cars now. I'm really not. All right, everyone, have a good Wednesday. We will see you next week.
Have a great day, guys.
1 2 1 2, need my attitude. 3 4 3 4, check my latitude.
I like that.